Hi, Anna. Welcome to the Say Hola Well podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Lucy. I'm so excited to be here.
It has been long overdue for us to have a conversation about money and everything that we're so passionate about. But before we get started with the interview, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Anna Conte. I am a financial advisor, certified financial planner, born and raised in New York, and I run my own wealth management firm that really focuses on serving first gen wealth builders.
I love that. Una mujer with her own business, talking about money, and I love everything about that, what you just said. So, Ana, you are Puerto Rican, and I want to know, like, because I'm chismosa, okay? I like chisme. What was your relationship with growing up with money?
Yeah, super chismosa too. Anybody who says they don't like it, I don't believe them. I want to know the details. So I was born and raised in New York. My mom is Puerto Rican. My father is an immigrant from West Africa. He's from the Gambia. But I mostly grew up with my mom's side of the family. And, like so many of us, because of economic limitations and the realities of life living in our countries of origin, my family emigrated to the US. And I think both because of their circumstances here, but because of where they came from, they had a lot of narratives around money that, like, we're, no somos gente rica. Esas son cosas de ricos. Like, they used to say that to me, like, nosotros no tenemos ese dinero, no, nosotros no hacemos esa cosa, right? Someone being able to start off from humble beginnings, invest their money, manage their money wisely over their career, and to be able to retire in a way that would be abundant, let alone meet their needs. There was a lot of talk about social benefits. And so, my personal aspiration was always to have money be less of a stressor because it was very front of mind, present in mind due to my upbringing. And so, that landed me here.
And I love that. And I love that, sorry for the struggle, but also like if it wasn't for the struggles that you had, we wouldn't be talking to you today about my one of my favorite topics, which is what it takes to become a wealthy woman. Because as Latinas, as people of color, I feel that we have this unhealthy relationship with wealth as well, not just with money, but also with wealth, because we think all of this false narrative that is evil, that is corrupt, that is not for us. And so, could you tell us how can Latinas really embody what it takes to become a wealthy mujer?
Yeah, I love that so much. For me, it really took me stepping into the world of wealth management to realize that it was possible. And so I always default to that as being the first step, is understanding that it is something that is very much within reach for you and you can attain it. It really just takes intentional focus and commitment to doing it. And I think also shedding that perception that this is not for us, or that money is somehow, or wealth is somehow going to change who we are, take us away from our community. Like, there's all of these emotional mindset things that are focused in that. I think the commitment is the first thing. The second thing, I think, is just getting comfortable with adapting a new identity and doing scarier things. We do scary things all the time. We do incredible things all the time. But I think for some reason, investing, taking risk can feel a lot harder for us. I think because we feel we have so much to lose. And so I think, being comfortable with making those decisions, making those choices that are going to be good for us long term, but we don't necessarily know for certain. I think those are also really important as we progress and continue to build wealth for ourselves and our families.
I love that so much. Now, you talk about intentional focus, which is so much needed for anyone who wants to break generational cycles and truly embody what it takes to become a wealthy woman. But also, we live in a society where there's so much disparities among women. Women of color, Latinas are like the lowest paying demographics. So, what would you say to someone who truly wants to be intentional with their journey as a first gen wealth builder, but they have all of these like external factors that are affecting the way they earn money?
Yeah. It's a really hard one. And I'm not someone that, I understand what real life is like for people. And so I don't like to act as though none of those factors are at play, right? It's going to be harder when you're paid half of what a white man makes. It's going to be harder for you to say, yes, I'm going to invest 20% of my income, right? I understand that. I think that what we have to be, and one of the first things I teach my clients, I have a membership community that where I teach women their own path to build wealth. And so one of the first things I teach them is you have to focus first on earning a certain threshold, at a certain threshold, because below a certain threshold you're not going to be able to move the needle that much, or it's, especially if you live in a high cost of living area like New York, it's going to be really hard for you to put away significant amount of money and really build your portfolio. So I always say, if you are below a certain amount, focus on that, go back to school, start a side hustle, figure out whatever your lane is for a while to at least be able to do that. I think also, understanding that life is works in phases. And so for a period of time, you probably are going to have to be very focused on this wealth building path. It's not to say that you have to live deprivation, because I don't believe in that. I don't think that we can or should do that. But we might have to say no a little bit more than we would normally, right? And that has a period. I usually say, like, if you can give it 5 years of intentional focus, of really like putting the effort in to get a higher income, to invest aggressively in all of that income that you achieve over like what you were earning before, and you do that for 5 years, you'll set yourself up so much better than most people that you know. I also think that like that's the period where you have to say no to, buying the bigger house, or doing some of these bigger like life goals, maybe investing in investment real estate, like these other more sophisticated things that take a lot of capital. You really want to focus on, can I get as much money into investments as possible in a good balance so that it can get my portfolio growing to support me in the future.
Love that so much. I'm like, I'm drooling right now because I'm like, yes, we know the language, we speak the language, you know what it takes to become a wealthy mujer. In our community, Anna, there is this perception that the American dream is homeownership.
Yeah.
How do you think that the traditional success blueprint is truly hold us from building our portfolio? Yeah, let's go there.
I love it. Okay, so I will use like real numbers. So if you think about, and I know, Latinos live everywhere, but a lot of us are concentrated in high cost of living places, New York, LA, San Francisco, right? Like these are places that are very expensive. Miami now is expensive. And so if you think about what it costs to buy a regular house, it's easily $1 million, easily $800,000. If you want to buy that house and have it be in an affordable range, you're going to want to put, and not pay a lot of extra fees, you're going to want to put 20% down. 20% of $800,000 is a lot of money. It's $160,000 that you have to come up with in cash in order to avoid all these extra fees. Now, you can say, okay, I'm going to put that 160,000. Yes, it buys you a lot of stability. It buys you a lot of comfort knowing you have a home, you know what your cost of living is, you could be there as long as you want. That's beautiful. And I don't discount that. But when we think about like what it takes for us to become wealthy and catch up, if you were to take that same $160,000 and invest it, you're going to have so much more money later. And not to mention, you're saving a lot of money on maintenance costs, repair costs, all of the things it costs to maintain a home. I always tell folks, the median, the average growth rate of how much the value of a home goes up nationwide is 3% a year. If you think about $160,000 growing at 3% a year, a little bit, and you're going to add a little bit as you pay down your mortgage too. But the average stock market return is nearly 10%, for a very vanilla, boring, run of the mill portfolio. And so there's a 7% difference between how that money is growing in your house and how it's growing in the market. And when we think about, going back to our earlier conversation, Lucy, right? When we are underpaid, our money has to work harder for us. Like we cannot have things, And I think especially in those early years where we're first building our wealth and like really focused on our wealth building journey, we can't spend a ton of time and effort putting money into something that's not going to grow aggressively, especially when we're underpaid, right? Like that money has to be working. That money has to help us catch up with everybody else. And so I always tell folks, a home is a beautiful thing. It's not an investment. It's not an investment. It is a place of safety. It's a place to make memories. It's a place for you to sleep. But a lot of times it costs us our financial independence later. And so I always tell folks, I would rather you have your emergency fund, put the money in the market, pay down maybe some high interest debt, all of that well before you even worry about a home.
Yes, 100%. And I agree with you. I am a homeowner, but for me, the house wasn't of course, it's part of my wealth portfolio, but it wasn't the priority. I grew up very unstable, and so I never owned a home. For me, you're right, the house became my safety, a part of my safety pillar, but understanding that, hey, I need to start investing. I need to make all of these moves that my abuela, my mama never had access to. Let's do it, right? Like, because hello, who doesn't want to make money when they're sleeping? Because that's how
Yeah,
investing works.
exactly.
And I recently noticed that you're also talking about the importance of making work optional, which is available when you become a stock market investor. What are the challenges that you're seeing with maybe your own community or the clients that you serve in terms of like even presenting the idea of making work optional? Because as Latinas and women of color, we have been conditioned to work literally until our body cannot work anymore.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much there. I think that so many people, because of the experiences they have, like as Latinas, we have this experience of watching our mothers and our grandmothers work like crazy, right? For me, my mom worked 2 and 3 jobs when I was growing up. Mommy was working all the time, and she only really stopped working once again, once she got older and once it was not like tenable for her to do so any longer. And that's the story for so many of us. And so we have this like mental narrative or like model that we follow and think like, okay, I stop working when I claim social security. I stop working when I get my pension, which if you start the earlier in your career you start investing, the sooner you get the option to say I'm going to stop working, because a couple of things. One, nobody knows what's going on with social security, if it's going to be around. For a lot of us, social security is not going to, especially if you're not low income any longer, it's not going to replace a lot of your income. So, if you think your benefit is $2,000 a month but you make $100,000 a year, that's not really moving the needle very much, right? And so, you know we have to create a lot of the wealth and a lot of that retirement security in and of itself, right? For ourselves. And we have to reframe the idea that it's only for after I'm 60. And I think a lot of the reason too that so many of us are kind of against 401ks or don't necessarily want to invest aggressively in 401ks is because we have this perception that that is for when I'm older. I'm 30. I'm not really that worried about what I'm going to do when I'm 65. The thing that they forget is that there are other types of investment accounts, right? You can do a Roth IRA and I have access to that money before 59 and a half. You can do a brokerage account, which is my favorite account that I tell everybody to build. You can have a brokerage account and have investment income that's spitting off, and it's helping you fund your lifestyle, or it'll allow you to take some time off or make other investments. I always tell folks to build their wealth in a way that is it's able to be accessed before that retirement age, and also to think about it's really just giving you the option to do what you'd like. It's
I
really
love
just
that.
giving you the choice to make the choice. And so many of us are not used to people having choices. And so like our brain doesn't even work that way.
Yeah, you just said something so beautiful. For me, what really inspired me to have multiple investment accounts was, hell yeah, I want to have options, but also like it actually helped my brain to think of investment accounts as zapatos, so shoes, making sure that we have more than one pair of shoes, so why can we have multiple investment accounts? Like, I have my hiking shoes, my sexy heels, I have my flats, I have all of these, and that's how I have to kind of re-educate my brain to think about the investment options. Like, I don't just need to have one, because hello, look at the closet, right? The closet will tell you the truth. And when it comes to investing, it's so much the same way. So I love that you're encouraging people to open a taxable brokerage, because that's my sexy account as well. I love that so much.
The best. It's the best.
I love it. Now, Anna, we're so behind, right? Like, that's the data shows that Latinas are behind in the wealth building creation. What are your thoughts on entrepreneurship and connecting entrepreneurship to build a legacy, to build generational wealth?
Oh, this is like, I wrote a blog article probably 5 years ago that talks exactly about this, because it was my own experience, right? I am somebody, I worked in wealth management, as any other Latina. I'm like super overachieving, super hardworking, like really putting in the hours and being super valuable to my organization. And not to say that they didn't appreciate me, but there was always a limit in how much I could earn, or what they thought I was reasonable, or how many promotions I could get in a year, right? Like, that was always dictated by them, regardless of the fact that I was performing well above the level that I was being compensated at, or even my title. And when I made the shift to entrepreneurship, it was like suddenly I'm earning multiples of what I was making just 2, 3 years before in entrepreneurship. Not to mention the peace of mind to be myself, not to mention the freedom to, schedule myself however I want. I have children, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. Like, I stop working at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Like, I have the flexibility to do that. And I think, like, the ability for us to take our skills, build something that truly serves us and is not, within the confines of that like 9 to 5 job market, is so crucial. And I really think the only way that we are going to catch up is through like three things: earning a higher income, whether that's like at your job, like hitting those higher value skill sets. It is through investing, and it is through entrepreneurship. Like, without those three, one or multiple of those, we're not going to be able to catch up. Because if you think about, like, it takes us 18 months to earn what a white man earned in a year, right? Or more than that, actually. I think, yeah, it's 18 months. So our money has to be working for us, but we also have to have higher earning potential, especially when you think about Lucy. Like, this is another thing I talk about a ton. Okay, my money, my income, no es solo para mí. Like, I gotta help mommy, I gotta help this person, I have to help this other person. And so many of us are living like that. Plus, we have our own children. And so this money is stretching for multiple generations, multiple households. We have to have more of it in order for that not to cripple us financially.
I love that. And I love the fact that you said, I am a mom. I work until 3. I do my own thing. I am myself, because I'm living that, right? And that is my version of the American dream. Do I have the home? Yes. But the freedom that we both have as entrepreneurs to do whatever the F we want, like, that is so powerful. Now, with your nenes, because this is something that people ask me, right? There's always that, as Latinos, so much chismosos, we hear things here and there, and people are like, is it true? Is it true, right? Is it true that entrepreneurship can help you legally hire your kids through your business? I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to get into the details, but, like, is it true? Like, are
No,
you
it
doing that right now?
is. It is. It's so totally true. And there's some guidelines, right? But one of the best things you can do, once again, to set the kids up well, is you hire them through your business, you funnel whatever money you're paying them, like, let them do their little jobs. And this is especially easy if you have like a physical location for your business, right? They can take out the trash, they can clean, they can do whatever they need to, right? But you can pay them that and then put that money into investment accounts for them. And it doesn't take a lot of money because of compounding interest. It doesn't take a lot of money for that to grow into millions of dollars for them when they're, older and ready to retire themselves.
I love that. I'm a huge believer of entrepreneurship to help us close the wealth gap, and I'm doing that too with my nenas. I have 2 nenas, and so making sure that we're teaching them the mindset, the skills, that what you talk about, the intentional focus of what it takes to grow your money as well. But look at us, we're raising trust
We're
fund kids.
doing it. Okay, Lucy, can I tell you a quick story real quick? So my oldest daughter
Please
is
do.
10. She's going to 11. and she was at my cousin's house. They were playing taboo, which, it's like you pick a card, it has a word on it, you have to describe it to the person and have them guess without you saying the word. So my cousin picks the word tooth fairy, right? And so she says to my daughter, it's something that pays you when you lose something. Do you know what she said? She said insurance, right? And I was like, my cousin was laughing so hard because she's like, this is obviously she's your child, right? Like she's 10 and she knows about like insurance and how that works. That's amazing. Like a 10-year-old should be thinking tooth fairy. It didn't even cross her mind, right? And we're giving not only the example of living freely to our kids, but we're also giving them the education around these things, which so many of us didn't have growing up. And I feel really grateful that I've found this skill set and I can pass it on to my kids too.
Yes, and what a beautiful story, because for them it's normal, right? Like you and I grew up on survival, on learning all of these like limiting beliefs, but they don't have that. And
No.
sometimes people think about, wow, well, I don't really want to teach my kids about money because what if they go wrong, right? And it's like, no, when you're intentional about building wealth, your kids are going to learn from you. And so when any mujer makes an investment in working with a financial planner, working with a financial coach, like that investment is not just for them, it's for like a whole family lineage that is going to break generational cycles. And so I love what you're doing. Now, I'm not going to let you go without asking you. You are also, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because sometimes I'm like, I need someone to check my facts. Soy chismosa too. But are you the co founder of SAID? Am I saying that right?
Yes, I am. I am. Yeah. There's a
Okay,
bunch
so
of us.
tell us about that because we want to know.
Yeah. So, about 2 years ago, I'm always looking for people, my people in the industry. There's not that many Latinos that are financial advisors, certainly not certified financial planners. And so I went out and reached out to some other Latinos that I know in the industry and said, I really think that we need an event for us. Funny enough, somebody else reached out to me and said, hey, I want to talk about this concept. Like, let's talk about it and let's see if this is something you can do. Fast forwards to October last year, we ran the first SER Summit, or sorry, September last year, we ran the first SER Latino Advisor Summit, which is really just an event for Latinos that are either financial coaches, financial advisors, certified financial planners to come together, learn, technical skills, talk about building a business, talk about building a career. And the idea is that, it almost never happens that we're in a room with other Latinos who work in our field. And so it's really just an opportunity for us to come together and have that companionship, have that connection, and also advance in our careers. So the second SER Summit is happening in October 9th and 10th in San Diego. I'm so honored and grateful to be working with these amazing group of people who are all business owners doing great in their careers, and also show how you can be authentic, lead with your identity, lead with your Latinidad, and still be incredibly successful in your career, and also be successful in your career because of that too. So it's really a special event.
I love
I'm
that.
really looking forward to it.
That's the power of community, right? And the way, I mean, just reflecting back on the way we are building wealth as business owners, but also how we are not just gatekeeping, right? Which is the conversation that really was happening in the golf courses. White men talking about, hey, I'm doing this. The strategy, the mindset wasn't available for our people, and now we are doing the work, and we're inviting everyone to come along because we know it's possible. I just love the work that you're doing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for the summit too. I might come to San Diego. I want to say
It's
that.
gonna
It's on
be
my
a
on my
blast.
I need to buy my ticket. Now, Anna, I also want to ask you, because like part of what we do here on the podcast is to really redefine wealth. What is your definition of wealth?
I mean, hacer lo que me da la gana, right? Like, yo hago lo que me da la gana. That is my definition of wealth, right? So, whereas my business is not controlling my every move, I don't have a boss that controls my every move. If I feel like saying today is the day I'm not going to work, I'm not going to work, right? If I want to take a week off, I can do that. If I want to take a week and go work from somewhere else, this summer, my husband got a job. He's going to be in Africa for 6 weeks. I'm going with him with the kids. I'll work. I'll be on my laptop, right? But that is wealth to me. It's to have the options to financially, time wise, like location wise, to do what brings you joy and makes you happy. Because, and I think that's like truly a revolutionary act, because so many of us, because of machismo, because of financial limitations, whatever, as women, as Latinas, we didn't have the opportunities to do that, right? And so now I truly embody yo hago lo que me da la gana. That is my vibe always. And I feel, while I'm not Warren Buffett, I feel super wealthy and fortunate that I can even say that. And it's true.
Yes. I'm like, amen. And I love how you say that because that is exactly what building wealth is all about. It's not about the currency, it's not about the status, it's about truly doing lo que te dé la gana. So, Ana, thank you so much for such a lovely conversation. We will make sure to add a link so people can follow and connect with you in the show notes. And from an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, like, let's just keep talking about money because we really need more
Yes.
Latinas to become wealthy mujeres.
Amen. Thank you for having me, Lucy. This was a pleasure.